I have never changed the audio settings for the Mac in the latest versions of Mac OS where we have the new design system settings.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time I've ever done it from there
Oh, okay. So how have you been changing it with SoundSource?
with SoundSource
Yeah. Yeah. So why isn't SoundSource installed?
because I haven't typed brew install SoundSource.
Okay.
Uh,
That makes
Hold on.
sense.
Let me hit the record button on this H6. I did install Audio Hijack. It was stupidly simple to the point that I'm not sure it actually works, and I haven't tested it yet.
It works. It's just that simple now, man.
It, yeah, but it doesn't feel right. It's like,
Right.
what? Wait, what just happened? Like we're done? This is
We're
it?
done. I don't have to do anything else.
I mean,
I
I know I
think
didn't have
that's
to reboot or anything, but TestFlight is horribly broken.
mm, it has been for a while. It just has not gotten any better. That's for sure.
Like I'm on the beta of drafts, and every time there's a beta update, I get the little dialogue pop up. It's all the version notes and continue and do all that stuff. But then it tells me, oh, it'll update the app, and the app will be running. And like I'll go to the launch bar and type DR for drafts, and I'll hit return like, oh, we can't find the address for that app because
Mhm.
blah blah blah. What are you doing? And this is on a new Mac, like set up from scratch. I did not transfer anything. I didn't even copy my files over from the old computer.
Ah, so you're starting all from scratch. Do you work out of iCloud mostly?
No,
Okay. I
what
think
does
we've
that
had
even
that
mean?
conversation a time or two. What does that mean? Like all your files are stored in iCloud. All of
No,
your downloads are in iCloud.
no. I tried that, and I kind of just didn't like it.
Ah, because you always needed to have an internet connection to get access to your stuff.
Well, that's one problem right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not the case. Yeah. Hold on. Let me move this computer around here. All right. Turn that off. We'll close this sound panel.
So today we were at a chapter meeting and I had on the left side the DJI Mic 2 Goes, I think, or Mic Go 2s, whatever it is, plugged into the MacBook. And Zoom picked it up and everything worked just fine. Well, Mallory was taking notes and she's like, "Oh, did you bring a charger?" I'm like, "No, I didn't. Let's try this. Here, plug this USB-C cable into this side of the Mac and you come sit on this side and plug your computer in." And guess what? Her computer charged off of my Mac's battery.
Huh.
And it,
Interesting.
it didn't just sustain the battery, it actually charged it a bit.
Huh. And what is she using?
The Air M2
Ah, okay.
might be M3, but I think it's M2.
Interesting.
So that worked.
Yeah, and you probably operate like I do, where you have your brightness like all the way down on your computer. Like most of the stuff you can turn down that just unnecessarily for us kills battery anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably get excellent battery life on the 16 inch.
Until I plug in a Vocaster.
Well, there's that, but it is kind of a energy sucking device when you think about it. But hey, you got enough to probably do a show or a meeting and not have to worry about it. I was just hooking up the mute switch, which I'm going to figure out how to get switched over so the button does what I want it to do. Instead of being depressed for unmute, it should be depressed for mute.
Mute.
So I just did something weird, and you may or may not want to leave this in the show, but it's my first time ever doing something like this ever in life. I just bought a pistol on the internet.
Ah, on the internet?
On the internet.
Huh. How was that process?
Surprisingly easy.
Okay.
Now, the only gotcha, and I say gotcha in the sense of like, it's not like, oh, they're going to show up with FedEx. FedEx is going to show up Wednesday with a pistol. Like, that's not that's kind of what I thought was going to happen, but it's not going to happen like that.
No, you probably have to go to the place to pick it up, huh?
So I have to get it shipped to a local, federally licensed, agent. I'm guessing that's what FLA stands for,
Probably.
and not Florida, and go to them to pick it up. So what I'm going to do is call a couple of places on Monday to see which one I probably want to use, because they'll let you complete your order without picking one, and you just have to go back in and pick it later. And until you do that, you're not going to get it shipped.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that does make me feel a little better about the whole process, honestly.
But it was still surprisingly easy.
It was surprisingly easy.
Did they do the background check online?
No.
Okay, so just go into it with the expectation
that I'm going to have to fill out the paperwork when I get there.
Yep. And then you're probably not going to be able to take it out, like leave that day with it.
Yeah,
you might be able to, but
yeah, they should be able to do those kind of instant, I would imagine now. But yeah, that's my expectation. So when I go to pick it up, once I pick a place to pick it up from, and they show you a nice little list of places I could have picked from. It's like, I don't know any of these places.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to call them and make sure that I don't feel weird talking to the person that's there before I even show up. Cause that'll be a weird thing. Just show up and randomly like, hey, yeah, I had a gun delivery here. And I'm like, dude, who the hell are you?
Right.
So yeah, when I do go up there to pick it up, once I pick a location, I will take a person with me that can fill out the paperwork, and then I can sign it. Because that's what they're going to have to let me do. Take your ID and your
firstborn too, because...
Well, I'll take my ID and copy of my birth certificate.
Yeah,
and
all that good stuff.
All that crap, just in case they need all that.
Well, that's an adventure.
Yeah, it was mentioned to me by Tia's brother. He's like, because I asked him about, what pawn shops around here might have been good to go check out, or particular, places to go check. He said, man, you can get them online.
No, don't blow my mind and tell me you went to Amazon to get them, because
okay, now I got to go to Amazon and check.
So you didn't even check there first?
No, because
okay.
that didn't even occur to me, man. I didn't think. Let's see, what is a Block 40? All right, let's see what we got.
Have you used B this week?
So I do have it on now. I don't think it's actually recording, and I have come up with a interesting idea, or interesting, what would you call this? Experiment.
Okay.
I don't think Amazon likes it. What have they done to this Amazon website?
Man, you're telling me, like, it used to be bad, but now it's horrible. But they have keystrokes now, so it's so much better. But those keystroke notices are just in my way, and I just want the information. And then you get stuck in the advertisement or the skip to content link
I was
section.
just stuck in the skip to content link.
Yeah, you got to tab out of it. Is how you got to do it. And then once you tab out of it.
What have they done, though, that navigating by heading on a web page, I don't care where you were stuck, unless you were stuck in a frame, would just, move along? Because basically it feels like you've interacted with the skip the content link, and if I just stop interacting, it seems to work. But, that's an air pistol. That's a BB gun. Oh, I was like, oh no, they got one.
Little different.
Oh, okay. It looks like they got BB guns, not actual.
Yeah.
Although, it could be fun. But I have an interesting experiment that I'm going to try with B. I am going to go through the process of resetting it. I'm going to hand it to Tia and let her try it out for a week. See what she thinks.
Okay.
Because I'm curious what a non-techie person who's, kind of deeply engaged in all of this AI stuff and all of that thinks about a device like this once they've used it. Like, just telling a person about it is one thing, but I think using it, and then, because again, like I pointed out last week, there are some interesting aspects of the device that I find useful. It itself is not the best solution for this at the moment in its current iteration.
So is Tia into AI?
So she's not using it. That's a part of why I want to do this experiment. We discussed last week. She thought GPT was actually a person that you could just call them by initials for the longest time.
George, Paul, Todd. My friend, my best friend in high school's name was George. So his I don't think his initials fit it though.
Yeah, but that was humorous. But I'm curious what her thoughts are on using this and looking at the summaries. And again, I don't think it's the perfect device. It definitely needs some iteration. It should allow you to edit the prompt behind how it gives you your summaries, because the flowery upbeat
I want it to be
tone
less
is irritating.
verbose.
Less verbose and less, trying to put a positive spin on everything. Like, let's just tell me what happened. Like,
Just stick to the facts. Don't
Right.
add emotion to it.
But as I pointed out, genuinely, there are things that it pulled up as reminders or to-do items that I'm like, I actually did forget about that. Like, I may have remembered it later, but I did not in the moment that I read the reminder. It was like, oh, I did say I was going to do that. I should probably do that. Let me add that to Todoist so I don't forget to do that.
Yeah.
For real. So I'm going to try the experiment. I don't know what you're doing with your bee, but you should, well, shit, Mallory can't take it to work though.
Nope.
Be the only problem for her.
Yep. Can't take it to work. Can't. Yeah. But maybe I'll give it to someone and have them try it. Maybe I should mail it to Marty. Wonder if he'd be interested in trying it.
I don't know. Marty seems like he would be in a lot of, high level secret meetings that,
that maybe he can't have him in there. Like,
yeah. Because you can't even tell us he was in these meetings.
Mail it to Jeff. Although Jeff's kind of in that same situation. He's in meetings. He may not. Okay, now we've got to talk about it. So Joplin, have you played with this at all? Have you done anything with it?
Not beyond our initial conversation. No, I haven't even went back to the app on the iPhone, and it's not installed on either Mac that I'm currently halfway using.
Me neither. I have it on my iPhone, and that's about it. And I think I opened it to say that I looked at it when we talked about it 2 weeks ago. Jeff did a basics with bits on Joplin today. He was supposed to do week 4 of OneNote, but this is kind of taken over his life, it seems like, I think. And I was not able to make the meeting. So I'm excited to hear the recording, which will be available on the Bits website shortly and ACB Media's website, I think. But Bits members now will have access, if you log into your website, to a 50% off discount code for their Joplin premium service. So now I think I'll go look at actually what it is and how I would use it. Looks like with that 50% off, the middle tier plan is $28 a year. So that's about what we paid, what I paid Drafts, I think. I don't think it could be an alternative to drafts, but I wonder if it could be that way to get cross-platform access to my drafts.
Well, so I'm curious, and I'm going to install it just to play around. I will listen to Jeff's audio first, and then determine from there to install it. But I think I'll install it, take a look at it. It's interesting that you say it can't be a draft replacement. I want to go back to that in a sec, because I think for a person that's not using drafts, and I say this as a person that mirrors your exact thought, like, I don't think anything could actually replace drafts for me. But, I'm 12, nearly 13 years in with this app, which is crazy when you think, that's a long time that I've been using the same app. But I think maybe because I see a lot of people, hear a lot of people using things like Notion or what's that other one? Everybody talks about it, and there's all these plugins and things, and it's a web wrapper app, Obsidian.
Yes.
A lot of people using Obsidian. Obsidian mostly I hear from a lot of people, and they're using it sort of in the way that I use drafts for the most part. Like, it's where they start notes, and there's other things you can do with it, that some of which is possible with drafts, some of which, isn't, or isn't natively exposed. I mean, maybe you could hack together something. But I'm curious, what Joplin is going to bring to the table for a person that doesn't have that everything app. In a lot of ways, Joplin, Obsidian, and probably Notion to a certain extent sound like newer, more modern versions of or at least for me, what I use DevonThink for a very long time, which is it's a place I can store a lot of stuff if I want to start building like a wiki or tracking something. Like if I were the type, I think I actually did outline a course in DevonThink before. Like I made a whole new database. I clipped bits of information there. Some of it was from websites. Some of it was just notes I wrote directly in DevonThink. A more accurate way of putting that is that in a lot of cases, I wrote stuff in drafts and then sent it into DevonThink later. But I kind of outlined a course and kind of put some stuff together. And, I had images. I had voice recordings of, recordings, that little clips that I had put together of me demonstrating the app, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of how I have used DevonThink. We did get a question. I got a question on Mastodon some weeks back. And I think I may have fell out of that conversation, not on purpose. I don't have Mona on here, so I can't even go check. But at any rate, the person was asking about how I use DevonThink and what does it do. Now, DevonThink has been talking AI for years. And really at the time, to me at least, and it's just me being a very basic user of it, like there's a lot more. A friend of ours who I hadn't talked to in a while, actually, Marlon, started using DevonThink because of me and very quickly surpassed the stuff that I was trying to do with Devon. He was calling, asking me, like, so I'm trying to do this and then do this and have it automatically do that. And I said, man, look, email support, dude, because like, I don't know. I barely understand what you just said you're trying to do.
Right.
But from my perspective, their AI that they were talking about was essentially, kind of classifying documents. So if I stored a bunch of PDFs and websites and notes and recordings, etc. in there, when searching for one thing, it would try to group together things that were related. So things that I may have not seen the correlation in that data may surface up in search results. Or if I hit the classify button, there's different features. I never really did a lot of searching in there unless there was something specific I was looking for. Like, where in the hell is that snippet for doing this thing in WordPress? Because I know I saved it there. Things like that. And usually I'm targeting so specifically that I never, really took advantage of like their classifying, or grouping and things like that within DevonThink. For me, it was mostly just a database to capture. And I have several different databases in DevonThink, but it was a way for me to store a bunch of stuff on web development, for example. Like, oh, here's a cool little workaround with JavaScript to, set the focus on the first field of a Gravity form when you click the link that opens up that Gravity form on a new page. Like things like that cool. Would go in there because one, I always will be able to find it there. Putting it in drafts didn't make sense because like it's not something that I need to act upon or reference, or not reference, but it's not anything I'm going to edit, right? Sticking in a DevonThink means I'm not really touching it. It's something I need to go back and refer to, or somebody's, tutorial on how to, there was something very, very broken in Gravity forms at some point with like ARIA labels or something. And I had a tutorial, somebody walking you through building a snippet to fix that little thing or something like. So there was a lot of stuff like that, little hacks and tips, or bits of code I had grabbed from places because I'm only going to reference this. So for me, it was more like a filing cabinet of sorts. I do have a database that has all of my documents for business registration stored there. Have them in other places too, but they're in DevonThink because one of those databases mine are encrypted. I don't think you have to make them encrypted, but there's an option. So of course I chose that option. And they will sync through iCloud or Dropbox or a couple other things. So I have sort of a archive of those things. So even if I switch computers, I don't have to go through DevonThink and be like, oh, I need to make sure I don't forget to export my stuff out of Devon. Nope, just hook up the new computer and point Devin Think at wherever I have that database located, and there's all my data back. So that's kind of how I have actually used it. I didn't use it in the way that a lot of people use it for a lot of deep research and storing stuff and doing a lot of deep research on a topic to, write a paper or do a brief or write a blog post or something like that. Mostly because I'm not that type of person. I just want somewhere to go reference stuff and not have to try to search through my web history to figure out where it is. On the other hand, drafts for me is somewhere that I clip. I write a lot of stuff in drafts. I start a lot of stuff in drafts, just because it's there. But I also share a lot of stuff to drafts, like links to products and doing research. Like I'm looking for locks for vending machines, for example. Like there's a lot of links in there that have the tag secure locks. So one day I'm going to go through all of that. I did actually write a script that went through and pulled. It scrolled through, it went through my drafts database, found every draft that had an Amazon link in it, used Amazon's API to look for, using the link to find the actual product and put the product name as the title of the link, and converted everything into markdown links and made me a nice list in one single draft that says Amazon products or something. I forget what I named it. Which was cool. And I ran it and it didn't work the first time and I had to tweak it a little bit, but I got that working.
Was that before GPT or with GPT?
That was with GPT. Come on, man.
It's interesting how GPT is helping augment knowledge, because I know what I want to do with it. And then you tell it what you want to do and it'll guide you straight through that in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I mean, it worked great. That's one of those things that I would have wanted to do in the past and wouldn't have felt like it was worth putting in the time it would have took me to research how to make the app. Whereas I have put in the time to figure out how do I do this thing in WordPress from scratch or starting from a building block. But drafts actions is something I've never delved into, partially because I've never delved into JavaScript. So have also exported just for anybody thinking about doing such things. It's a great way to, fix up some stuff in drafts with your own little custom actions. I did export my old draft database before I did it though. And did a backup inside of drafts, which backs up to a folder in iCloud somewhere or something, before I ran this action on my drafts, just in case.
Just in case I went crazy. I need to go to the drafts action repository and find one to delete all of my blank drafts, because I have a lot of blank drafts.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's already one. So
there is an action that does it. I'm often sometimes puzzled as to why I ended up with these blank drafts, though.
Because if you did what I do, you read the text and deleted it. So I was thinking about this the other day when I installed Homebrew, because I don't have Text Expander installed on this computer yet. I copied the text out of Terminal and pasted it into drafts. Then I cut around it and I cut the first line pasted, cut the second line pasted, and then that left a blank draft, and those don't get deleted automatically.
That makes sense, because I absolutely do that.
You just don't think about it because you do it so second naturally. And then you have to walk someone through what you're doing and you're asking yourself, why the hell am I doing so many steps?
Well, I mean, oftentimes there's text and I have to do VO-Shift-C to get the entire block of text.
I got to VO-Shift-C. Oh, to copy last phrase to clipboard.
And then go paste that in draft so I can get the part of that paragraph that it just spit out at me that I need, so I can go do something with that. And then I'll just delete the rest of the crap.
I got to teach someone the other day about VO-Enter to start in selections in Terminal. That was cool. He had been using the Mac for a while and didn't know about that.
I was looking. I thought I had a draft already that deleted blank drafts, but I don't see it right offhand. But I did get it out of the draft repository.
I'll find it. So. Maybe if someone's lucky, hey, that's what we could start giving people somehow, is actually us doing the research of the links. Maybe we'll email you links to things we mentioned in the show.
Wait, hold on. What are we doing?
Building an email list. I was going to say originally that I'll take the link and I'll go find it and put it in the show notes. And then I realized I probably actually won't, because a lot of times we say we'll go do the link and we don't find them. And then I thought, well, maybe we should use that as a lead magnet. If you actually want the links, go sign up to our email list that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that is something.
Other podcasts do that, I think.
That is something we should do, for sure. The reason, so I'm going to give people the real reason, well, the primary reason that we don't have show notes with links in them most of the time. It's because Mike edits the show. I don't listen to the show before Mike publishes it, because that's not a thing. We've never done that, I don't think. So I could send Mike, and then I don't actually make notes, which is what I should do, of things that we are talking about linking. I think the last time we had that working decently, we were doing it inside of Google Docs, because we just typed the word and then select the text and search for that product and just add the link. So because I'm not doing that, then Mike doesn't get links, because by the time we get off, we forgot whatever it was that we said we were going to put a link in there for.
Every once in a while, I'll text Demasi and say, hey, do you have a link for this? But yeah. And AI primarily writes the show notes for me right now, because I'm not using Alphonic's AI show summary. So we've talked about the rendering process, or the publishing process, I think a time or two before. So right now, when we record the show, we're recording in Zoom. If Riverside or CleanFeed wants to give us a free account, then we'll use your service and talk about you. But until then, we're using Zoom. With Zoom, we have it set to record each person independently, and those tracks are then brought into Reaper. We render each track after it's done being edited as an independent FLAC file, which renders to the project folder that the technically working project is. So I guess I should take a step back. In Reaper, I have it set up so when you create a new project and you save it, it saves all of the media into a subfolder with that project's title. So this one will be TW97, and inside of TW97 will be a media folder. So when I save the project, the files are copied from wherever they are and converted to FLAC and then saved in that media folder. And that's how I've set up the project. So when I render the tracks, I select both tracks and then I render them out. And I tell Reaper to render selected tracks, and I choose FLAC. Those go into the root directory of the project that I've created as FLAC files, and then I typically move them to my downloads folder because it's faster to get to when I'm in Alphonic. I should set up something to do with their watch folders, and I had that set up. I just haven't. Workflows change, and I just haven't gone in and fixed it. I still have templates in Alphonic that a lot of times I'll delete the YouTube channel because right now I'm getting content to YouTube differently. I just haven't went in and updated the template. I just know what I need to do. One of these days I'll do that and then implement more automation. But I take the two FLAC files and I drop them in the downloads folder. And then I go to Alphonic and I hit technically working, or I hit new multi-track project and I hit technically working as the template. And then I choose Demasi's track and I choose my track and I apply the effects. Well, the effects are already in there for the template. And then I have it spit out that MP3 file. And with that MP3 file, I get an HTML file with transcript of each of what I say and what Demasi says. And so I do a Command A, Command C to copy that to the clipboard. Now I can actually go to chat.com and paste it into there. It was there for a while, limited on the characters, but now I can say, hey, I need help creating a show title and show notes for this specific episode. Here's the transcript. I paste it in, and then it gives me the show notes and show title, typically in Markdown format. And I can hit Command-Shift-C, Control-Shift-C if on Windows, and that'll copy that to the clipboard. And often I'll go back and forth with it and say, hey, I don't like this style, or didn't we talk about this, and have a little bit of a conversation to craft the notes the way that I want it. And then I will take those and drop them into Pinecast, because Pinecast supports Markdown. And then I publish the episode. So
yay, glad they support Markdown. Not enough places support Markdown.
I need to automate some of that. Like as I'm talking my way through it, I'm like, I should be using the watch folders for Alphonic instead of the manual upload process. But it takes time to sit down and get it all set up right. It takes time that will save time.
It takes time, but then there's also I think one reason you didn't do this at one point is because you were storing your cloud services like Dropbox and stuff on an external drive.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it wasn't always connected, and so automation things would break. Like right now, when I open I didn't mention this. So when I get a file from Alphonic, and I tested this the other day, when I get a file from Alphonic that starts with digital bytes or starts with unmute, it does now move. I finally set that up last week, move those files into their proper folders. And I copied a digital bytes folder to my downloads folder today and pasted it, and it was an MP3, and it should have moved it, and it didn't move it. And I couldn't figure out why, and then I realized because that came from Google Drive, not from Alphonic. So, but yeah, so I got that automation set up, and that has been helpful. And then, have I talked about my Python script for podcasting? I don't know.
No.
For podcast downloads. So with Cursor, I think I sent you this. Maybe I've sent it to a few people, but with Cursor, which is an AI tool that Taylor mentioned when she came and talked on the show, 79, I think, 80.
Okay. I said maybe.
Anyways, when she came and talked with us about how she's using AI, Cursor, and I have kind of I've been playing with it a bit. I'm actually using GitHub Copilot because I'm paying the $10 a month right now for that. But between GitHub Copilot and Cursor, I built out a Python script that I'm using that lets me run the script. It asks for the RSS feed that I want to download podcast episodes from. I either hit enter and it will accept, or it'll take the default RSS feed, which it happens to be Unmute Presents podcast feed, or I can paste in or type a feed right there. When I hit enter, it asks me what folder I want to download the files to, and by default, it is set to a folder called downloads in the same directory that the Python script is in. And then after I choose that, it asks if I want to search for keywords in the podcast episode title. So if I type digital bytes, for example, then it will search for digital bytes and only queue up the episodes of digital bytes and then download those. And then once I hit enter, it does that magic. If I don't type anything in that search field, it'll do all the episodes. And what it does is it downloads the MP3 file. It renames it to make sure that it's in title case, because there are a few where I accidentally had the second letter capitalized, so it just sounds weird with voiceover. So I set it to title case. And then it puts those in the downloads folder that we picked and in a subfolder called MP3s. And then it takes the show notes and it puts those in the downloads folder in a subfolder called show notes. It takes those show notes, and at the top, it puts the date that it was published. So this is last published on year/month/day, I think is the format. And then it has the show notes for the episode. But one other thing that it does to the file names is it chronologically adds 01 through XX, meaning that digital bytes, for example, starts with 01 and goes through what now is 50. And that's how I'm able to tell which file came first before I actually have to open the file. And then I can go and upload those to another site. But that's the little Python script that has saved me a lot of time. That probably took me an hour and a half, 2 hours to get the way that I wanted it. But now I use it on a regular basis, and the time that it saves is worth the time it took to try to build that out. So that's where we have. I can't think of anything else. I'm sure you have something else, though.
Yeah, well, I just upgraded to Hazel 6.
Okay. Have you
'cause-
played with any of the new features?
No, because I literally just brew installed it a few minutes ago. I did upgrade the license a few days ago because I heard about it on MacBreak Weekly, that it was out, because I completely missed the email. And two, that it has a feature that I am very interested in because this is a problem I'm trying to solve. One of the new features of Hazel 6 is it will run OCR on files, and you can have it do things based off what it finds in the text. So, gonna play with that. The idea here is that I can scan my receipts and go through the tedious process of going to the local storage of the ScanSnap app and selecting all of those receipts and moving them into a folder that Hazel could actually see on the Mac, and hopefully have it OCR and rename them based off, if it sees Walmart, it names it Walmart and the date. So yeah, that will be I will follow up on that once I get started.
Yeah.
But I just heard about the feature of it, and I was like, oh crap. One, I didn't know Hazel 6 was out, and apparently it's been out. It did not just come out. But I also didn't know about that feature. I text Mike like, hey, go get Hazel 6, like right now. Like, don't wait, just do it. And he's like, I did that months ago. I was like, so OCR on images, question mark?
And I don't think I responded because I didn't think I understood that.
No, you responded. You said,
oh, did I?
I heard about it, but I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with this guy? What do you mean you ain't tried it? What's going on, man?
Old age, man. Old age.
So I am excited about that because Hazel is a tool that I've been paying for almost since so there's a very short list of apps, and I think I can name all of them that I picked up in a bundle, before I even got a Mac. I knew I was getting the Mac, but I hadn't yet gotten it, but I paid for apps before I had the Mac. Mm-hmm. Let's see, it was 1Password, and I think that at the time it was either 4 or 5, not sure of the version. Mm-hmm. It was a very nice bundle. I hadn't seen one that nice in a while either. It was 1Password. It's back when you paid for the app, kids. Just you bought it and you owned it until the next update came out and you could pay for an upgrade.
But see, you thought you had, well, yeah, you could pay for an upgrade. Some of them tease you and said, we're going to, you get a lifetime license. And then 3 years down the road, they're on the subscription bandwagon too.
Well, I'll come back to that in a second because there are people who have done that and done it well, and there are people who have done it and done it well.
True.
Let's see. This bundle included 1Password. I don't remember the version, but it was 1Password, the app for the Mac, Text Expander, Hazel, and I can't remember. There's a couple other random, as there are in most bundles like that.
But those three, that's a pretty good. Was that from Bundle Hunt?
No. This is before I even knew about Bundle. I don't remember where I saw this on Stack Social or something like that, or one of those deals.mac MacTrast, I think may have been where I got it. Deals.mactrast.com or something. But it was a nice bundle, at least for those 3 apps. I think it may have had ScreenFlow in it too.
Ooh.
And there were a couple of random crap apps that I never even installed. I'm not going to say they're crap. They just weren't apps that I was interested in. But I bought this bundle, and I think I got it for either $39 or $49, which is a huge steal because ScreenFlow at the time was $99 by itself.
Yep.
And then I bought Keyboard Maestro sometime shortly after getting the Mac because it was an app I had heard a lot about and actually used it quite a bit back then for what it was worth. And, so I've been on some of this stuff for a very long time.
Is your Keyboard Maestro up to date with 11?
It is.
Okay.
That one I did update.
Okay.
Partially because I saw Peter's email about it. No, I'll take that back. I did see Peter's email after you texted me and told me that it was out.
Yeah. Those are 2 that I upgraded. I upgraded Hazel, and I think I talked about it on Mac Chat for Unmute with Chris, and I said, she asked if I got any Christmas presents, and I said I got myself the upgrade to Hazel, and I don't even know why. And we had a listener that texted me and goes, you don't know why you bought software? And honestly, I don't know why I bought Hazel 6, except for it was time to upgrade it, so I upgraded it.
So there's a very small group of apps. Hazel falls in that category. Keyboard Maestro falls in that category.
Yep.
Even if I'm not currently, because I have used them before. I actually should have backed up my rules at some point with Hazel because I had a pretty nice little way of keeping my downloads folder cleaned up, which is shot to hell now. I think that's like 11 gigs for some reason. Don't ask me why. I don't know. But those are two apps that when I see that there's a new version out, I just go ahead and do the upgrade. One, because I'm getting upgrade pricing, so I'm not paying full price for a new license. And two, I want to make sure that they continue to be supported because they've been developing on the Mac before I was interested in the Mac, and they're still around, still doing their thing. And as far as I know, they're both individual developers. Like, it's not a team. It's not a big company. They haven't gone corporate, 1Password, on your anything or Texas, man. They're going all corporate. What the hell is this crowd, man? What happened to Smile software, huh? Anyway, so.
And their apps are accessible. Like, they're not assholes about it and just go into the cheap way. They seem to care about accessibility.
Yeah, they do. For sure. So you don't have to worry about, they upgraded and now they've broken some stuff. It's like, nope. And if you reach out, you get a pretty quick answer, and a fix, fairly soon. So I like supporting those people, because at some point I am going to circle back to the app because there's going to be a problem that I need to solve, and this is going to be the only way to do it. Hazel was on my mind as a potential solution for the problem with the receipts scanning, because I haven't found a solution to just automatically OCR the receipts. So Hazel was on my mind, and I was like, I need to think this through. So probably a script that will trigger some app, but I need to find an app or web service that is relatively inexpensive that can do OCR and push it back down as a file, and then have Hazel then take possession and act on it based off information in the file. So Hazel was a part of this process anyway. I just hadn't deployed it, and I didn't know he built it in. It's like, I thought about it, and then Paul Kim made it happen, apparently. So
that's all you got to do. Just think about it. And it will
just happen. Think about it. See, that's a good Mac developer. You think about a feature that you're trying to solve using their tool, and then they just add the feature into the app. And you're like, oh, well, see, that's nice. I didn't even know I needed this, but now I need it. So updated that. I haven't played with it at all, so we'll follow up on that for sure. I think it will ultimately end up being a workable solution.
The guy who made Mac Whisper, Jordy, made an app and released it a couple of months ago called Voices. And I've been playing with Voices recently to convert stuff to audio quickly. But one of the new features that he added is the ability to interact with multiple different voice providers. So if you have an API key for things like 11 Labs, or if you have a OpenAI key, you can add that. And so it's really handy to pick from the different types of voices. I wanted to pull these up. So Play AI is one of the sources that you can use. I see. Okay. So you interact with the sidebar, and he has OpenAI, 11 Labs, Play AI, Replicate, and Local Server. So it looks like, what's Local Server? That's new. I wonder if that means that there are some on-device models you can use to generate text.
Yeah, and see, that's why I need to upgrade my Mac Mini, because I need to run these models locally and then connect to them instead of connecting to these web services all over the place and stop giving everybody $20 a month.
Yeah.
Did I hear you say you're paying for Cursor or not yet?
No, I'm not paying for Cursor. I'm paying for GitHub Copilot.
Ooh, GitHub Copilot. Yeah, I liked it when I used it in VS Code. Hey, VS Code is actually open right now.
VS Code is open?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was doing stuff, man.
You can run Coquirl locally and generate unlimited speech for free. And then it says technical setup required. See, this is an instance why I will do VO Shift C. So VoiceOver will say last phrase copied to the clipboard. Then I'll do Command Space, press and hold D, and that opens drafts, and I'm in a blank draft, and I'll paste. Because I'll go to the top of that with Command up arrow, and then Option right arrow, and it'll say you can run Kokoro. See, I wouldn't have gotten that. And that is Kokoro. So Kokoro locally. And then this will make a blank draft. Now that I'm thinking about it, I might go delete it. But what I'll often do is just Command A, delete, or
Delete,
I'll just leave it there.
That's what happens. You end up with either blank drafts, which that makes perfect sense why that happens, because I do exactly what you just did. Or you, like you said, you just go on about your day, and then one day you're scrolling through your drafts list and you're like, what the hell is this? That doesn't even make any sense. Oh man, never mind when you're doing like a one-time password thing, not password, but like a application password for something. So you copy and paste it so you can get it formatted right, and then you don't delete the draft. So 7 days later, what kind of gibberish is that? What was that password? Or oh man, I've done it so many times, setting up a spin up WP site, and like it gives me the password for the database. I'm like, okay, well, let me drop this over here because I'm going to go make some modifications and I'll need that password. And then it just sits there like 2 days later, like, what the hell did I do? What is that?
You have to go look at the context clues. What draft is before this and what draft is after this?
Look, one day I really needed a database password and I couldn't figure out between the drafts which one it was. So I had to look at the dates that the drafts were modified and then look at the dates of the, like go to the server and like actually look at the modification date of certain files to figure out like, oh, I think this is the one. Okay.
And it's just, anyways, that's just how drafts works.
I mean, I could make it easy on myself and just put in a note that says, this is the database password for this site.
That takes a commitment that you're going to keep that password.
It's partially the commitment, but it's also, I try to be very, I don't try to. I'm usually very thorough about putting information in one password. So when I do it, I can't just paste the password in. Like I have to go set up a new database item so I can tell you where that database is. Is it a local host or is it a AWS database or DigitalOcean or Linode, standalone database server, right? And what's the username and yada, yada. So that takes a commitment because that's time. And I'm in the midst of doing the thing that I need to do. And then I just forget about it because, hey, it's working. Everything's great. I'm never going to need this again. I don't think. Oh, wait. Crap. I don't know the database password. Or what was my username password? That's really what gets me with spit up WP is like, oh, here's your user password. Okay. Copy that. And I've gotten in the habit of pasting it in drafts because there's been a few times where stuff is going weird or my clipboard history has disappeared. And that is the worst feeling in the world when your clipboard history and launch bar gets wiped out for some unaccountable reason. Like I know there were something like 30 items down that I was going to need again at some point, and it was there before I could get it. And now I don't remember what it was, and I definitely don't know what it is because that's why I was in the clipboard history.
Right. I wish LaunchBar had a setting that. Well, do they have a setting where you can save clipboard history on system restart?
So there's a setting to preserve across system restart. So that works. Okay. But occasionally, every now and then the Mac does some weird crap, right? And you have to like hard shut it down. That tends to wipe out your clipboard history.
That clipboard history, that was amazing.
Man, I would be, I hit the keyboard shortcut so often that launch bar ended up being the first thing that I opened and activated and set up over here because I kept hitting Command Space. I had already done the typical thing, which is disabled that from being the shortcut for Spotlight. So I'm hitting Command Space and nothing's happening. I'm like, is this shit broken? No, you haven't opened LaunchBar and set it up. Oh, yeah, I got to do that. Because so much stuff breaks, right? Oh, and then what I did is the classic mistake that I think everybody makes if they get on someone else's computer or you're setting up a new computer and you have not yet set up your tools. Is you copy a thing that you're going to need. And then because you're used to having the clipboard history, you go copy another thing. oh crap, I just wiped out the first thing that was there because I haven't set up launch bar. So there's no clipboard history.
Yep. And then you get frustrated with yourself because you know that you should have known that, but it's one of those, I'm going to go copy this. And
no, it's not even, I feel like I should have known it. What I get frustrated about is like, why didn't you just stop and set up launch bar like instantly, dummy? Stop sitting there like, oh no, well, that doesn't have to be the first thing. I need to get these things in place and download these. No, download launch bar, set it up, download 1Password, set that up. Because those are two things you have to have on your computer.
You have to have on your computer, but what I'm saying is if I'm using Mallory's computer and I go copy something and then I go copy something again and I'm like, oh, don't worry, I can get that first thing out of the clipboard history, and then I remember that I'm not on my computer, so I can't because she doesn't use Launchbar.
Yeah, but see, that's still habit though. Like I would then be, so a part of me would want to be frustrated with Mallory. Is like, why don't you have Launchbar on your computer? Like, what's your problem?
Right. Yeah.
Like, this just makes sense. But no, and when it comes, the reason I don't get frustrated about not having set it up or it not being available on that computer is because I know why I did it. It has become such an ingrained habit.
Yes.
That I don't think about it, that when it doesn't, like hitting Command Space for me is just automatic. Like I hit Command Space when I want to open an app. I don't go to the applications folder for anything unless I have set up a new Mac and neglected to add Launchbar to that thing that starts it up automatically. Then I go to applications to launch Launchbar. And immediately after I have to do that the first time, after I launch Launchbar, I type SP so I can get the system preferences. I know it's system settings, whatever. And I go find that thing in settings now because I have no idea where it is now. I found it, but I couldn't tell you how I got there, which is the story of the new settings app on the Mac. I found it. I don't know how I got there, but I found it. And add Launchbar to, the launch on, login. And after that, I don't go to the applications folder ever again unless even if I'm trying to delete something, I'll just brew, uninstall, I think. See, that's a command I couldn't even tell you what it is. Is it brew remove or brew uninstall? I can't even remember.
I think it's brew remove, I think.
Cause I just type it and it deletes the app, and then I immediately hit brew cleanup -S. So it scrubs all the crap out of there too. Like, all right, good. We're done with that one. I have not installed Setup on this computer yet.
I stopped paying for Setup.
I'm debating on what I want to do about that. Most of the apps, or at least a large number of the apps that I do install through Setup, I actually have licenses for. Like Mart, for example, is one, or Downy. Those are apps that I use that I do have licenses for. So I don't need Setup for that. What Setup does save me the cost of right now is timing, which I was and still kind of do because I haven't wiped that MacBook Air yet. Still rely on because, sometimes I don't clock in for AT guys, for example. But I can go look at timing and see, I was on these pages, and all those pages have actually been marked as AT guys. So I can just go look at how many hours now it probably misses some stuff because I didn't add, whatever site, which I do now remember, but I won't say, or this site or that particular vendor site, to the list. So it may miss, I'll probably miss a few minutes here, a few minutes there, but for the most part, from on the website, or I'm in the Google Drive folders, or looking at certain documents, or, in the warehouse system, all of that is being tracked up on the AT guy. So I get at least a rough approximation of how much time I put in and when I put it in, so I can go punch those hours in manually. It's not ideal, but it has helped. And if I were more diligent about it, I would actually track time. The one reason I'm interested in timing, and I have seen this work to a certain extent. I feel like there has to be ways to tweak it more, but it will look at your screen time. So that's one way for it to kind of track what apps and things you're using on other devices, other than the Mac, because there's no timing app for iOS because they won't let you do what timing does on the Mac, which is basically watch you and just say, you spent 45 minutes in eBay.
It's your on-device big brother.
Look, it's kind of like recall without the recall, right? It won't take you back to the thing that you were doing. Like, you can't go searching timing and be like,
but you can see where you were in time.
But you can see where you were. Like, I spent 30 minutes on eBay on that gun search result page. Okay. Probably should have been doing something else, but hey, or I was in YouTube for an hour and 30 minutes. That actually hasn't happened to me yet. Well, yeah, it did that one time when I found the guy, the crosstalk guy with the ubiquity stuff. I did spend a long time over there. But it will look at your screen time from other devices. So that would include your iPhone, and it gives you a rough approximation. I need more detail. Like, what was I actually doing? I do think there are some ways to set up some shortcuts that'll feed back into its API. So it looks potentially it could be a great app, across platform that doesn't require me. That's what I need to get around. Like on the Mac is great because I don't have to remember to do anything. It'll track my Zoom meeting. So if it were running on this Mac when we got out of the Zoom meeting, it was like, hey, you had a Zoom meeting. Zoom meeting is over. Would you like to enter the time for this? And I could go in and select a project or whatever, which sometimes I do. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, shut up. Nobody cares. Team Talk kills me though, because as soon as you stop talking to Team Talk, it's like, oh, Team Talk called us in. It's like, no, it hasn't. The app is still open, man. But that would let me go in and say, oh, well, I spent this amount of time on, technically working. If I was writing show notes and added that Google Doc, to the technically working project, like that could be track time. So I could generate a report, and it's doing all this automatically. And the only thing I have to do is just categorize things, and it learns. So it learns that, HEguys.com is for HE guys, which seems obvious, but there's not a way to do that, kind of automatic sort of. See, I need to hook all this stuff together. Like I need the AI listening to then feed back into timing. Oh, well, for an hour and 45 minutes, Demasi was on the phone talking to this vendor, about, different tricks of the trades and the stupidity of some people. So this was a business meeting.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely put it up under spirals because this was business, because I did get some very actionable tips, and some confirmation on some things that I thought, and discussion, money management. So it was a business meeting. But see, I'm not going to think about going to punch that in somewhere. So when I look at the end of the week at my roundup report, I don't see that I spent, an hour on the phone talking to a person that actually was business related. Or, over the course of the week, I've spent, 3.5 hours on the phone with Mike doing podcasts that nobody was recording. Because that happens. So just between me, you, and the tip jar supporters who listen to their bonus content, that thing got ordered. Finally started to show some movement.
Good. I was concerned it wasn't going to move for a little while.
Man, I was concerned it wasn't going to move at all. So I was going to have to reach out. I'm like, hey, I think I need my money back, because apparently there's a situation that none of us could do anything about.
So good.
That is finally showing some movement. So maybe it'll be here by the end of next week. If you want to know what I'm talking about and what I bought and why I bought it, you should become a tip jar subscriber. You go to technicallyworking.show, click on that link, and we appreciate it. And if you have questions about it, feedback at technicallyworking.show. However, don't email and ask what did I buy, because I'm not going to answer. I'm going to tell you just go become a tip jar subscriber, and then you'll know, because they know.
I should send you the MP3 link. So, no, because if they're a tip jar subscriber, they'll get it.
Yeah, they will get it. Yep. They will get it. And if you are a tip jar subscriber and you don't know what I'm talking about, there was bonus content for episode 96 that you should check out.
Yeah. Tips.pinecast.com, putting your email address if you don't have your private podcast feed. I think those say technically working private for and then your name, I think.
Yep. That's what it says on Overcast. Does it say something? Are you seeing that with like other podcasts that you're paying for? And okay.
Specifically that are on the memberful platform and that are on Patreon. So I think that's just standard.
Yeah, I think it's just become a new standard, because I see it for our show too, because I am subscribed to our feed in the podcast app. In Overcast. Mostly because I wanted to listen to the JJ episode, because that was the episode I wasn't on. So I had to listen to the show. I was like, I told T, I said, man, I'm a little weirded out to listen to this episode because I wasn't on it. So I have to hear what happened. Mm-hmm. But I was like, what if they did a show that was better than me and Mike doing a show, and then people start writing in? It was like, oh, we want JJ to co-host the show with Mike. And I was like, what if I just lost my job?
I think you're good. I don't think I could get JJ to commit to a show.
But that is, I posted on Mastodon. That's the first technically working episode I listened to, which is actually true because all the rest of them I've been on. I listened to that one because I wasn't on it. So, I needed to know how to conversate.
And I listened to them 2, sometimes 3 times. One might say I'm a bit vain.
Or you're editing and trying to get that little, what does that sound like? Wait, does that make sense? Hold on. Did we talk about that later or do I need to cut that out?
What?
No, I mean, that's probably why you're listening to it multiple times.
Yes. That happens. Or I found myself a couple of times where I'm listening to something. I'm like, that sounds like the part of audio that I cut out earlier. That's not going to make sense to the listener. So then I go back and then I hear the way I edited it. I'm like, oh, that actually does make sense. I didn't need to re-listen to that. Maybe I do know what I'm doing a little bit.
See, I know exactly what happens because it has happened to me. It's like, wait, that doesn't make sense. And you go, oh, actually, I fixed that up pretty good. Okay, well,
yeah,
dude. All right. So let's see, what time is it?
We're at 20, so about an hour-ish.
All right. So I'm thinking we can talk about Fastmail if you have questions. Fastmail is looking interesting, but if you don't have any specific questions, we can kick that can down the road.
I have no specific questions about Fastmail, but if it's looking interesting.
It's looking interesting.
Okay.
I'll tell you about some of the features and then we'll wrap it up. Since I actually did the thing, because now all my email is in Fastmail, which means in a couple of places I don't see email anymore because I log in and I open the mail app and it's like, what's the last email for this account like a week ago? Oh, yeah. Got to set up the Fastmail.
So you're using Fastmail.
Yep. So I put this on my to-do list last week to switch over to Fastmail again. Yes, I've done this before. For
everything?
For super long time listeners. Everything is now in Fastmail. I haven't turned off Workspace yet because it was already paid for one thing. And I also need to do a data pool, download all my data so I can get all my stuff out of Drive that is there. But I went back to Fastmail for a couple of reasons. One, I'm super annoyed when I go to Gmail on the web that I can't not get rid of this Gemini wanting to help me thing. It is in my way. That's not really the actual reason, but that is annoying. Mostly I'm cutting costs for Bedrock Innovations. I do need email with my domain, of course. I don't have anybody else on that Workspace account, and I'm paying a ridiculous amount of money for Workspace for one person at the moment, and it just keeps going up, and it keeps going up. And I'm not using anything really except for the mail and calendar. So I sent a text message to Mike because I was thinking, well, I could try Fastmail, which could be an alternative. It has been for customers of mine in the past, and some of them still are on Fastmail. A solution for small businesses. I was like, I hadn't looked at it recently to try out its features or whatever. So I can go there or I could go MX route. So I'll drop a message to Mike because I was like, I really don't know which one to pick. And I said, Mike, which one should I do? Fastmail or MX route? I don't know why, but Mike just answered Fastmail. He didn't ask me any of the questions. He didn't ask any of the questions I thought he was going to ask. He was like, Fastmail. I was like, okay, well, we're doing Fastmail. So I went through the process. I set up a new account because apparently I had deleted my old account. Possibly because I stopped paying for it. So that might be why I don't think they let you keep around accounts that you're not using. But I set up a new account. I connected it to my Workspace account so it can import all of my email and my calendars and my contacts. You can selectively choose which of those you wanted to do or not do. It also has a nice feature with the calendar, at least, where it will keep checking your calendar. So if you're using Google Calendar, you can continue using Google Calendar and it will keep your events in sync between there and Fastmail.
Okay.
I find that useful for two specific situations, personally. One, if you're coming from Gmail as opposed to Workspace going to Fastmail. That could be useful because you may still want to use your Google Calendar out there for some reason. Or if you're leaving Workspace and you're going to eventually turn off your account, but you have things, I guess, in both instances that are connected to Google Calendar, that you need to either figure out solutions for with Fastmail or just get those things hooked up to Fastmail. So I'm thinking things like maybe IFTTT or Calendly or something like that, where you could be over here trying to get your account configured and set up and all of this stuff, and people are still booking events against your Google Calendar. You would start to totally miss them if you did the thing that a lot of people would do. Like, oh, well, I'm done with that Google account, so I'll delete it off my Fantastic app. And now you don't know that you're missing all kinds of meetings that people are booking with you, because you also don't check your email. Or you had to switch your email over, which is what I had done in a couple of cases. I swear I looked at my email yesterday. Why haven't I got an idiot email in this account?
Right.
Well, I know I just paid for
Something's
stuff. Where's my receipts?
Yeah.
But Fastmail has come, now I will say this, and I've said this in previous shows, not technically working, it would have been the previous show itself, that their web interface, especially in Safari, I really hadn't spent a lot of time in it outside of Safari, but in Safari, it is crap for a screen reader. There's a lot of JavaScript that moves your cursor focus around very annoyingly.
And that's the same.
Windows. That is still pretty much the same. But they have added a lot of new features, including an API that was not there when I was last using Fastmail. So that opens it up to being able to do some more interesting things that were impossible to do prior with Fastmail, which is why I went back to Workspace. Because I need public access to certain things like my calendar. But a couple of nice little add-ons that they have done now. I have employed the trick for years of being a Workspace user. All the way back to Google Apps, of using the groups for business or the Google groups inside your organization for outward facing email addresses that need to be either, just out there or potentially to have somebody else sharing access to those messages. So supported Bedrock Innovations, for example, is one of those that I've been using. That is a group. Because at one point, I was like, oh, well, if I ever have to hire like a virtual assistant or something like that to do some work, I could give them access. I could add their name to that group list, and then they will be able to get the support emails and help filter those or something. And then I found Free Scout, and I was like, well, screw that. We'll just add them to the account. But, that's what I do with a lot of email addresses. As opposed to create a straight up alias for that automatically goes to my account. Because again, if you're thinking about potentially having to add other users, you want to be able to not have to forward email, but just add them to a group. So, and for me, it was testing as well, just to see how that process worked, make sure everything was smooth and easy to add people, remove people, etc. With Fastmail, for a team situation, so they've really added a lot of they've added two things. One thing they've added is a family plan, which is fairly inexpensive if you want to pay for email for I'm going to say very small team. Screw if it's actually a family, your whole family or not. So that's nice. On their team plan, so what you used to have to do with Fastmail, if you were like me and you were one person, and you wanted a support email, you would just make an alias and it would point it to you, and you could set it up so that it would go into a specific mailbox and bypass your inbox and all that type of nice stuff, which you can pretty much do with any email service that lets you make aliases. Some sort of way. They let you do it during the setup. Sometimes you have to create the alias and then go back and set up a filter that says any email that comes into this, do that, type of deal. But they now have added, so if I add a second person to the team, and I think this will also work for external users, but I haven't tested it yet. I'm probably going to test it with Mike in a second. You can set up a new email address and have it go to you, the person setting it up, or anybody else that's on your team. For sure. I don't know if you could do external people not in your Fastmail account. But you just select those people as you're going through. So that means, let's take AT Guys for an example, right? If AT Guys were to switch over to Fastmail, a lot of our front facing email addresses that we have out there that we use to ensure that everybody on the team sees these emails. We instead of, setting up a forwarder or whatever like that, we would just create this email address and, put the people's name in as we need to receive those emails.
Oh, okay.
So similar to kind of setting up a group in Gmail
or like
Workspace.
a delegate box for Outlook where you have one alias and then people's user accounts are added to that alias.
Right. There you go. So that's something that they really didn't have before that I saw there. That's nice. Again, the API is probably the most exciting thing for me because it gives you some abilities to build some tools against your account and your data. So there's a project that I'm not touching for several months, but I will get to it because it's one reason that kept me from staying with Fastmail before. Because once you set up your account, like I don't go to the web interface unless I need to configure settings or something. Like it's IMAP, like it works.
What's the price of Fastmail?
So the cheapest plan on Fastmail that's going to let you use your own custom domain, is $5 a month if you pay annual. I think it's $6 if you pay month by month.
Okay. That's not bad. That's cheaper than what I'm paying Google right now. I don't want to think about what I'm paying Google right now.
That gives you, hold on, I'm going to go tell you.
I'm paying them like $15, I think.
Not what you're paying I mean, I can probably tell you what you're paying Workspace because it's probably the same thing I'm paying. What did I just type? Oh, that's not going to get me where I'm trying to go. I just typed pricing in the search field. See, the browser should have been smart enough to know that I was on the Fastmail page already.
Right.
So it should have just took me to /pricing or whatever.
Yeah, it should have. Soon maybe. No, I can't say maybe. Soon. It'll be a different way we interface with things, but.
Because their pricing for custom domains is the same. Yeah.
But
I also have a duo plan. So like if it's you and another person that needs email, which I don't necessarily, no, I don't really have that.
Yeah.
$8 a month for two people, which isn't bad.
That's still 2/3 of the price of what Google would be on the base plan. Although I think their price just went up too, didn't it?
Workspace?
Yeah. So is it still $6 for the base rate per user?
I think it's going up for existing customers in March or April. Across the board, if I'm not mistaken. So their base plans are $5 a month, or $6 if $5 if $60 a year, or whatchamacallit, $6 a month if you're paying monthly. Gotcha. This duo plan is interesting, and I may actually end up switching over to that. I'll have to do some research because I'm thinking about taking spirals into Fastmail now. I may not do that though. But this duo plan lets you and another person have access. And the reason that's interesting to me at $8 a month, everybody gets, so on the base plan of if you pay $60 a year or whatever the monthly cost is, you get 60 gigs of total storage. You get 50 gigs for email and 10 gigs of file storage.
Okay.
So on the duo plan for $8 a month, you're getting, 120 gigs. So each user gets their 50 gigs of email storage and 10 gigs of file storage, which I don't really care about. But hey, it's there if somebody wants to use it for something. That 50 gigs is interesting to me because that's more than what Google gives you at their closest equivalent price plan for Workspace, for email storage. And unfortunately, your 30 gigs you get with Google is all of your storage. So that includes your email, your Drive.
Yep.
Your photos, if you start using Google Photos inside of Workspace. Which reminds, I did do a takeout. You also get private calendars as well as shared calendars inside of Fastmail. They do have a higher tier plan that gives you basically the features I really see that this as is it gives you mail retention rules. So if you're in an industry where you need to make sure email cannot be deleted or possibly it's instantly deleted. So we'll find out you said, we gotta either buy out this WhatsApp company or destroy them. You don't want people to read that. You get rid of this. Now, here's an interesting thing that they have done with Fastmail, and this has to be new since I last used Fastmail, is let's say I go in and I need just a basic, plan, right? $6 a month, $60 a year for me. But my employee of some sort or something that also has email here needs the higher tier plan, and I want them to have, because they need more storage or something, or I want them on the plan that has the mail retention rules. You can mix and match your plans. So, in an example where I want mail retention rules, but everybody else on the team just needs basic email stuff, and I'm not worried about them having mail retention, I could do that. I could pay for myself to be at this tier and them to be at that storage tier. Maybe I'm at this higher storage tier because all of the email for support comes into my mailbox. But they're on a lower storage tier because they don't get any email for support. They just get whatever random emails I send them, which is something you cannot do with workspace licensing. And that is a source of constant annoyance to me. It's not a reason to switch to Fastmail. I didn't find out about it until after I was signed up. And I was like, oh, well, that's an interesting little workaround. I like that.
So, Demasi will report back on his experiences with Fastmail, how that goes. I will still continue to pay Google whatever price they decide to take out of my account next month, probably, because it's easier to just stay there for right now. Although it sounds like the migration process for you is pretty smooth.
Yeah, the migration from any service to Fastmail has always been pretty straightforward. That's one thing they've gotten right for a while. Like, you just basically click a link for, Workspace or whatever it is you're trying to connect. Well, any of the bigger email providers. Yeah. So Gmail or Workspace or Microsoft Outlook, those it'll take you directly to. If you're doing, let's say, like DreamHost email or something, you're gonna have to do some other stuff to make that work. But yeah, with the bigger providers, it is super easy. I will take you through the steps really quickly for you personally, so you'll know, but also for anybody listening, if you're thinking about doing this, because there are certain steps you absolutely want to follow, and there are things you should know about Workspace, especially. I can't talk about gmail.com because I don't know. Only have one account over there, and I should probably check it. Just a quick side note. So the email with the tracking number showed up on the day that the package was arriving at the house. I haven't looked at what time the package actually got delivered to see if the email came before the package. Yeah. But it was probably close.
Good times.
Well, you said that was going to happen. Yeah. And it ain't the first time it happened either, so,
Thank you, FedEx informed whatever.
Yeah. Shout out to the FedEx thing that sends me emails and tell me somebody is sending me a package. And UPS. And the USPS, which is probably going to stop working. Okay. So quickly, the steps I went through, and here's some things I confirmed before I even started this process, because I am still keeping the Google account. I'm just going to eventually cancel my Workspace license.
Right.
So that is a thing that you can do, which will maintain until I finish breaking it all down, because I think that's another story for another day. But I think I'm going to start disconnecting all the stuff that's tied to Google and just have it be standalone logins. I definitely haven't been adding anything new. But for me, I wanted to keep my not Workspace license, but my Google account, because there's stuff tied to that, and my cloud identity, which is most important, because I do have a couple of accounts set up under that cloud identity license that is free, that allow people to sign in with Google. So there's that aspect. That will still stay intact if you cancel your Workspace. Just don't delete your Workspace. Don't delete your organization from Google. Once you do that, all bets are off. You're done. So that I've managed to verify that this will still work. Now, what I don't have after I cancel the Workspace license, of course, is access to Gmail, and calendar, I think, goes away, but whatever. So the steps I followed here were, number one, as a Workspace admin, I went in and did an account export. So I did two. I did one at the organization level, and then I also did a second one at the user level and just targeted my primary user in Workspace, and exported all their data. It takes a little while for it to happen, and it gets saved to a cloud bucket, and you have 30 days to download it. Optionally, you could go the other route, and go to Google Takeout, log in as yourself or who, the user that you're trying to get the data out of, and go through that process of selecting the data that you want to export from Google, and they'll email you when they have a takeout file for you, and you download that. But that is something that you probably want to make sure you do. As far as going to Fastmail, I mean, listen, reach out if you're on, we'll tell you how to get in touch, but reach out and I can give you a referral link, which will give you some money off, and help me out a little bit too.
Hey, there's one of those links you can put in our messages so we can go in the show notes.
I'll tell you what, I will figure out a process, and start taking notes, and that'll be me.
Maybe it'll be Joplin.
We'll post them on Mastodon in a thread so you can see all the links to the stuff we mentioned. That's not nice.
Just random links with hashtag technically working and then space and then the link. Just no context to it,
I mean, the first message in the thread will be the episode number, so that'll
there you go. There you go. TW97 coming Monday, February 10th. I think.
But as far as the Fastmail process, set up your new account. You do have a 30-day trial before you have to pay them anything. There are some restrictions on that 30-day trial, so there's a limit to the number of alias email addresses you can create.
No, okay. But you can import all your stuff during that 30-day trial.
Yeah, you can import all your stuff like that. That was already in play before I even ran into that alias limit. But I have aliases because I have the correct spelling of innovations and the incorrect spelling of innovations. So I had to match those two up. And then there's the DT. And then I also had my first name, which is what I started with. And I realized that's kind of difficult for people to figure out how to spell Demasi. So I'll just shorten it to my initials. So I had to add all those in. And he was like, oh, you're over the limit because you're on a free plan, blah, blah. Anyway, I used the podcast referral link and got 10% off and just paid for the year for that one user. So it's cost me $54.
Oh, okay.
But start the import. You will get an email once the import is done. It walks you through pretty straightforward how to redirect how to change which records to change and how to change them, where, the process to do all of that. If you have a supported, registrar or DNS management, it'll give you very, very specific steps on how to do it. I already knew how to do it. So I didn't really click on any of them to see what to do. Actually, what I really did though is I just went to Cloud DNS and logged in, and I hit the template and had it add the Fastmail template and delete the, and I just went through and selected and deleted the Workspace MX records.
Yeah.
And the import will happen whether you change your DNS or not. So be aware of that. But if you want to see so you could theoretically get an email in your old email box if you haven't changed your records that says your import is complete. But if you don't point your records at Fastmail, you won't ever have anything except an archive over there.
Yeah.
There's some other interesting stuff we'll get into as I delve into it and figure out how I want to use some of the features that are now here in more intelligent ways. But that's pretty much the process if you want to do it. Do the Google Takeout or the account export thing first, or at some point early in the process, because you want to make sure you download that file somewhere. It's probably going to be rather large. So think about that. You're going to have to put it somewhere. And you can cancel your Workspace license when you get ready. And if you decide at some point Fastmail ain't the thing you want to keep using, you can always go back. It's not like your price is going to be different if you go back to Workspace.
They're not Spectrum. They're not going to give you a lowered price to come back. But, you could, it gives you a good platform to try switching from, and then going back is similar too, correct? Google has.
Yeah, because Google has an import tool as well. So you just point it at your stuff and pull it back in. That's how I went back.
Maybe I jokingly said I was going to pay Google, but every month I get that auto pay email on the 1st. And I'm like, man, I really should go find something different. So maybe I'll look at Fastmail, and I don't know. I'll observe you again, and we'll see if I decide to try it out.
Yeah, give it a minute, because I was on Fastmail for a while the last time. You remember the thing that made me go back was not being able to connect the Fastmail calendar to a lot of external services like Calendly and things like that. It does work directly with Fastmail. I mean, Get the two F's right. Fantastical.
Good.
It's actually just a login process if I remember correctly. I actually haven't done it yet, but I'll do it in a minute. But I think they're using the API to connect the app because they now have the ability to connect apps. Another cool feature, which they've had for a while. I think they had this shortly after I left. Masked email addresses is a thing that a lot of people do. But if you're a 1Password user, you can connect your 1Password to your Fastmail account.
Oh, that's cool.
And when you're creating a new login, it will generate you can have it generate a, masked email address in your Fastmail account for you.
Huh. That's pretty handy.
And something else to tip, Mike, you can also connect Dropbox, so you can save your attachments directly into Dropbox. So there's the thing.
So I think Demasi's trying to convince me to go to Fastmail. We'll see how this looks in a couple of months, or in a month and a half or so. I've been on Gmail since forever. The
thing is, that gets me, I've been on Gmail since like 2011, because I think that's when I first registered to Demasi and Michael.
13 or 14, somewhere around there.
So that was Google Apps, and I think that's the year I first registered Demasi.me, which I've never let go of. Because I got a domain problem. Actually, I'll get to that at the end of the show. Because I don't think Mike has seen it.
Oh, no.
But I've been a Google Apps paying customer. Well, actually, I was on their free plan for a long time. But I've been a paying customer at least since 2014, probably.
Yeah.
And the problem is, every time I've left, which has only been twice, maybe, at least once, and went to Fastmail seriously and stayed there for a while, I didn't actually stop paying Workspace.
Yeah.
This time I actually intend on canceling the license.
Good. Save yourself some money and see how it goes. We'll observe this. Before we wrap it up, next week we'll talk about these dot cards that I got. I got one of the metal dot cards and then the dot card band, and I'll give you my thoughts.
Is that the tap the thing for your contact card thing?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to hear about these because I almost bought some and I was like, wait, this seems kind of stupid and that's not very cheap. And what if I don't like it?
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what's happening with that because that's cool. I should probably get some of those. So looking forward to that next week. We would like to thank all of you for tuning in to episode 97 of Technically Working. If you like the show, tell a friend about it. Big shout out to our tip jar supporters. Again, money is money and you can spend it anywhere, but you're spending some of it with us. So thank you very much. We appreciate you. Make sure you check out your bonus content as it arrives in your feed. Michael is doing something. Mike, you want to tell people does that actually matter?
What?
Is that naming thing a listener facing thing, or is that just how you're keeping track of files?
Oh, about, with bonus content and without?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm starting to do. So with Unmute, for example, some of our content says no ads. Some of our content say with ads. With ads is a public facing. No ads is club member stuff. So I'm just putting it in the title now. I figured I'm done trying to keep it straight in my mind. Everyone gets to keep it straight that way.
All right. So for Technically Working listeners, what that means is when there is bonus content in your private feed, you will see with bonus content in the title. If there's not a with bonus content, there's no bonus content there. So thank you for being Tip Jar subscribers. As Mike said, you can go to tips.pinecast.com. No, that doesn't seem right. Is that right?
Yep. Tips.pinecast.com.
Okay. I don't know why I think I keep saying CO and that's it for them. Okay. As Mike said, you can go to tips.pinecast.com if you are a tip jar supporter and put in your email address. That will get you started on the way to getting your private feed if you somehow misplaced it or never used it. But take advantage of that. To everybody else, everybody can send us feedback. Anybody can send us feedback. Feedback at technicallyworking.show is how you do that via email. On Mastodon, which is the place you're going to find us hanging out the most. He's Payon, Payown. I'm going to start adopting the whatchamacallit thing in a second. He's Payon. You find him on whatever platform you choose to look for him. And he may or may not respond now. He's Payon, Payown at dragonscave.space. That's DRAGONSCAVE.space on Mastodon. I am Demasi at technically.social. That's DAMASHE at technically.social, which is the truest thing I've ever said. Hashtag technically working on that platform. We'll let you just follow along in the conversation. Please capitalize the T and the W. We appreciate it. Yeah, that's it.
And I saw you on Mastodon make the comment that Technically Working is one of your favorite shows. I saw that. I don't know if you saw that.
Somebody did say that.
Yes.